Hello everyone, I am Ozzy Arcane of Backlogged Gaming, and today we are here to talk about Senran Kagura Bon Appetit. Before I really get going, I want to talk briefly about my feelings on Senran Kagura as a whole. Now, I have never played any of the 3DS titles, which are basically considered the main series, because fuck handhelds. I have, however, played the Vita versions of Shinobi Versus and Bon Appetit previously due to owning a PlayStation TV, which allows me to play Vita games on the TV just as God intended all video games to be played. Now, while I did in fact platinum Bon Appetit for the Vita, the same could not be said for Shinobi Versus. Shinobi Versus, for all intents and purposes, is a 3D beat-em-up from a gameplay perspective, but I just found it immensely boring in comparison to something like Dynasty Warriors or Bayonetta. Now, I do have a copy of Estival Versus, and I'm hoping that will be better, but I have a feeling more than likely I will once again be finding myself dragging my feet to completion of the story, just like I did with Shinobi Versus. You might be wondering why I would get Estival Versus with how I feel about the previous game. Well, that's simple. I may find the gameplay immensely boring, but I absolutely love the characters in this series, and the storytelling is actually far better than a game centered around fan service really has any business being. And even though you can strip characters of their clothing, from a story perspective, the game doesn't even acknowledge that that is a thing. Shinobi Versus had some surprisingly deep stuff, such as carrying on a family legacy and battling against demons that normal people of the world aren't even aware exist. The only weakness of the storytelling was that they would tell you rather than show you. But then we get to today's game that I recently finished for a second time, this time playing the Steam version of the game, where the story is for the most part complete nonsense. Unlike in Shinobi Versus, here the storytelling is really just an excuse to progress the game. Which I guess makes sense when you figure that this is a ridiculous spin-off title that involves a bunch of ninjas entering a cooking contest. Yet in spite of that, I enjoyed this spin-off title far more than Shinobi Versus because I actually enjoy the gameplay. Bon Appetit is a music rhythm game, and we haven't had too many of those as of late thanks to Guitar Hero and Rock Band virtually killing the genre. For those considering getting the game, I do have to forewarn you that you really should not play the story mode on anything higher than easy, because while story mode consists of 5 battles, and the first, fourth, and fifth battle all have a predetermined opponent based on whose story you're playing through. The second and third battle are completely random regardless of who you're playing as. And you're probably wondering why that's important. Well, there are 2 characters who were originally DLC that are the hardest characters to beat in the game. Them now being part of the main game if you're playing on Steam or if you actually bought the DLC, there is a chance you will face them in the random character battles, and playing against them is as though you're playing against a character that is one difficulty higher than you're actually playing on. They do also appear in the story for a couple of the characters, so that's also another reason. You probably should complete the story on easy, then if you actually want to test your skills, do that in free mode or arcade mode. Now, the thing that's kind of funny about this series, for me at least, is after years of using the internet and access to hentai, the fan service, which for many would be the main draw of the game, has virtually no effect on me. It's not that I don't find the characters attractive, but just randomly seeing a naked character with their stuff blurred out doesn't really get any reaction from me other than a meh. Honestly, it's sexier when they're down to their underwear but not quite naked yet than it is when they're actually naked in the game. So aside from the gameplay, what do I find most entertaining about this game? Well, there are these things that happen when you do well enough. The judge of the contest is this perverted old ninja named Hanzo, and when you get a high enough score throughout the battle, he has one of these things that they call a food hallucination. These are kind of a trope in anime when food is involved, and it's easier to show you what I'm talking about than to try to explain it.
これはやりすぎじゃ。これはやりすぎじゃよ。これをうまいぞ。あっぱれあっぱれじゃ。
Overall, this video is just a really long bit of rambling about my thoughts on the series, and my way of saying that if you like music rhythm games and or boobs, then you absolutely should get this fucking game, whether it be off the PSN for the Vita or off Steam for the PC. Until next time everyone, happy gaming.